Greetings. How is everyone doing out there? My name is Ismael Perez, and I'm excited to be here with you guys tonight. I'm going to be bringing on Jenny Lee, the Oracle, and she has some interesting information to share with us today. I just wanted to get a thumbs up if you guys could hear me. It looks like my mic is working. Can you guys hear me? Can I get a thumbs up? If my mic is working, yes, no, maybe so. Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. I need a thumbs up if you guys could hear me. I just want to make sure that my mic is working. Is that a yes? I don't see any thumbs up yet. Let me just double check on my phone. Just make sure I'm live, guys. 1 second here, because I don't see the, this chat is there, but it's not going. That is interesting. Can you guys give me a thumbs up if you guys could hear me? Is that a yes or a no? Hello? Yes. Okay. Awesome. I just wanted to make sure. Crystal Rodriguez gave me a yes. Thank you so much, sister. And today is the 20th of July, 2024. Welcome to the positive timeline for those that are vibrating with the new incoming energies of high frequency source. Today, in reference, in the year 1969, apparently there was the first moon landing. So on this day in 1969, the Eagle lunar landing module carrying U.S. astronauts Neil Armstrong and Edwin Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon, and several hours later, Armstrong became the first person to set foot on the surface. Now, the reason NASA covered this up was the fact that what they found on the other side of the moon was already existing alien civilizations and commerce. Interplanetary commerce taking place between our breakaway groups through the military-industrial complex, the ICC, members of the Dark Fleet, and so on and so forth. And that is the reason, my friends, why they covered it up. All right. And then as of that point, of course, they had to stage a fake, landing event. But the truth of the matter is that the moon was already occupied. All right. All right, so with no further ado, guys, I do have Jenny Lee in the background. I'm going to go ahead and bring her in. Jenny Lee, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm actually pumped. I was watching the RNC for the last few days. I'm not going to lie. It's part of my mission and my calling is to observe. I'm still observing, right? I'm still analyzing. And one of the things that really just kind of made me understand that, the white hats are now in key position and that the cabal's last scare event failed was when the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, said that they are thoroughly conducting an investigation as they speak, something that's going to be happening Monday. They're going to see if they're going to come with some result, but they're investigating this whole thing that happened with, Trump a week ago. In regards to the deep state, of course, they call it the far left. And I believe that since they do have members of the alliance that have infiltrated these three-letter agencies, the Supreme Court, government departments that are all in on this investigation, we might just see that as the icebreak, right? As the icebreak for more intel to come out in the exposure of the cabal. What are your thoughts, Jenny?
So we might be a little different on this because I always feel that everything's put out for everybody to wake up. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that because, first of all, I'm going to tell you the biggest thing is with missing persons, I really research the types of blood and how it comes out on things, but also how crowds react to events. And so I believe that this was staged. Mm-hmm. So I'm not...
Staged by who? Good guys, bad guys, gray hats?
I'm not feeling it's a gray hat. I feel like this is and this, that the biggest thing is to get people to awake in a different way. And sometimes you have to put fear in them. You have to show them something that really wakes them up. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm looking at this whole situation. And this is the thing, Ismael, it's one of these things. We're going to know at the end of this. They're going to show you exactly what happened. And that's the whole thing about this, is everybody has a different perspective on this. And, you know, I went with my spiritual instinct, and it says something's not right with this situation. But if you look at the crowd in the back, you know, and I know, when something like this happens, people will run and disperse, and they hear that type of shot or anything, they're going to run. They're not going to stick around, you know. So I went through a different process with this. And so at the end of this situation, we all have different views on this. And it was just telling me, do you understand how much people need to wake up? Do you understand how the levels that they need to wake up in this process of this? So, do you remember, you know, back in the early days when actors, and they would have things in their coats and their everything, you know, they would carry it here for, you know, blood, to make blood go up or down or whatever.
Yeah,
so,
they do it in wrestling as well, WWE.
Yes. So my opinion, I'm not convinced that this, and I think it's a start. It was a start. You have the RNC, and I think we're already in the process of the awakening stage. I already believe that everybody's waiting for these days that we're supposed to go into darkness. I think we're already in it.
Right.
I think the RNC was the beginning already. Mm-hmm. And I've told you before that you can go back into my YouTube's talk about that the outages would be rolling. There would be rolling internet, rolling power, and that where they hit a resistance is where you're going to see the power down more, the internet down more. Where they're not going to hit resistance, you're going to see that the internet will be there and the power will be there.
And that explains the IT shutdown the last couple of days.
Right. Exactly. Right. And I've been talking about this for years of how it's going to roll in. Mm-hmm. In the democratic cities, they were going to isolate an area. Mm-hmm. And then you would have the white hats, white tents, white buses, putting them in one area and isolating them from society when this goes down. So we're building up to an event. You're building up to the guards coming in. And then what are they going to do? They're going to push them to one area. Mm-hmm. To isolate them from harming everybody, right? So, so the thing is, we're building up to a situation. I think we're already in it. I think I already think the money's already there. I think it's been there for a while.
Right. Interesting. You know, well, it's not too far from what I assessed. You know, I do believe that it was definitely orchestrated, staged event that was initially, I guess, rolled out by the Dark Hats. But like I said before, it was approved by the White Hats, and they had to like maneuver certain things in order to preserve his life, to make it seem like if it was done by the dark side in order to win him popularity and bring forth the massive disclosures that are about to take place as a result of that. But you're saying that it could have possibly been only a white hat event? Is that what you're saying?
I believe it's a white hat event. Okay, mm-hmm. I want you to look at the security, and you know what. With a lot of the military, they are in top-notch condition. Right. Okay, there's no way. If you look at those people around them, they are not in great condition. They are not. You know that, and I know that. They are the top of their field on that. They're physically fit. Mm-hmm. So the whole reaction, how they all reacted, and how the crowd didn't disperse, I don't buy it. You know, because my ex-husband was in the military. I saw how they were training. I know how they progressed towards protection. This does not fit the agenda at all. It doesn't fit the agenda.
Can you please elaborate on that?
Well, what I'm saying is, they're sometimes 2 blocks, 3 blocks. They're observing everything. They're not just a block away on this stuff. They're on top of buildings. There are cameras in the sky that we can't even see. There are drones in the sky that they can't even see. The higher technology that the military has, we haven't even tapped into that. Okay, so in this day and age, the way things are, this isn't the JFK era at all. Okay,
Right.
high technology is vast everywhere to a pinpoint of things. They saw to pinpoint where that person was, and to see the character. And this is the thing too you want to pay attention to. The people, what you saw when we were growing up, when something happened, a major event happened, you would see people at the hospital listening to the family and seeing, the carnage of the blood and everything else. And you're just hearing things. And that's the whole thing. We have to visualize, we have to see that for ourselves instead of what you're hearing. That's the program, is we hear it and we accept it. It's like, no, we need details, we need information. So that's the whole thing about this. I mean, we know that Biden ain't real. The whole process with Biden, right? Look how long that stage has been presenting to us for so long. It's going to go into this process. I don't even think this vice that they're picking has anything to do with it. There's no way who Trump is working with someone like that. He's that guy's too of a low level for a vice. There's no way. So there's a lot of things you have to look at.
You're talking about Vance, right?
Yes. Oh my God. Too stupid. I'm sorry. And the whole thing is about exposure. But yeah, it was just like, there's no way.
Yeah, I have a feeling that JFK Jr. will emerge. In the end.
I do too.
Now, obviously, there's a huge internal struggle within the Democratic Party. I call them the Democratic Party.
Right.
But
it is demons.
Exactly. We're seeing a collapsing of their party. We're seeing perhaps branding needed to step. I guess he's needing to step down. He doesn't want to, but everybody's telling him to. They have no one else to replace him. The witch ain't gonna come back, right? The witch is already done with.
Right.
Barack already served 8 years. So,
Right.
and his husband Mike is useless. And then of course Kamala Harris is just another clone. What do you think is going to happen with the Democratic Party?
I think it's already dismantled. I don't think it's like trying to give air to something that's completely gone already. But I think Ismael's, I've talked to you, I've said about this. I think it's already been presented about that there's 45, 46, and 47. We already know that Trump's already the president. He's going to go to 47. He is dismantling this whole presidency. We're going to a council.
So basically, you're saying that there might not even be an election.
No, I don't think it's that they're just completely dissolving it. And I think we're going to a council. A complete, and I'm not talking just here on this realm. I'm talking that it's already been in effect in regions, because what good does it do to go back to a 3D process that we know it never worked, right? And so if we go to a council, which is enlightened people, enlightened beings that work as one together as a universe, that is the choice. It don't make any sense. As you know what's going on in our atmosphere, cosmos, how in the heck would we say, okay, we're the only ones in the universe and we're going to stick to this old regime type of process? It doesn't work anymore.
Governments don't exist in the interstellar communities. It's all councils. And they're councils led by wise, advanced, spiritually mature beings.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So why would we go back?
To government, exactly. I agree, you know. That's one of the reasons why I rebelled against all establishment as a teenager.
Right. Because it's something inside, and I talk about these warriors of the future and warriors that have been born with this. There's a truth serum inside us that says, we're going to see this through. Mm-hmm. It's going to, at the end of this, we're all going to be humble about what happens, and we have to witness this. But we had to go through this. So this whole council process, and this is the thing, and we've heard in the past that people think it's just 9 or whatever. It's not. There's huge amounts of councils in different mm-hmm. levels of councils.
Right. Yeah. And I talk about those in my course. I reveal who the councils are and how it's all pretty much how they all answer to the one infinite creator.
Right. Exactly. We agree on their creator. That is the biggest thing because it's part of the process, right? So I think we are going to see futuristic process, like futuristic everything, technology, everything's going to be advanced. And I think Spirit goes, the only thing that you're going to see that has been implemented into every human is a spirituality, energy. That's been working with us since day one. The doctrines degree, the lawyers, all the bar, all that, all the medical, all that stuff is going, it's not going to exist. So our whole world is changing. It's evolving into the futuristic process that's going to be easier. So that's the whole thing.
Yeah, that's what I've been talking about, and that's what I've been sensing for quite some time. That there's going to be a drastic change that is going to ultimately allow this better world to emerge, and a lot of that has to do with, like you said, Jenny, all kinds of technologies that are going to be released one after another. Patents that have been suppressed, over 65,000 patents, I believe, that they have been suppressing due to the cartel.
Yeah, they showed me that med beds are going to be like kiosks. You just go through it, through a mall, it's not going to be a big deal in the future. Mm-hmm. Being healed within seconds, going through something and picking it up, like going through a door, and it takes 10 minutes. That's not going to be, I did this drawing, and it's showing our planet and an energy coming in and a craft coming in a long time ago, how our energy is changing in our planet, and this is opening, and I can't, so this is the whole, they call it an organic ship, but the whole thing is we're going through a lot of process right now, and I did this years ago, but the thing is you can feel it. Like, okay, we'll talk about when I talked about this fake sun. Plants aren't doing anything. Flowers aren't doing anything. Animals are not sitting and basking in the sun. I was like, this does not feel right. It's too bright. The yellow is in the sun. The whole way you're feeling with everything. So I think they're putting a barrier over us so we don't see certain things because there's activity going on above. In
space.
Mm-hmm. And so when I got that almost 2 months ago, I kept saying, that's not the sun. That's not the sun. They're saying that's not the sun. And you can feel it. You can actually feel your head feeling different when it's out there. If you look at a picture of the past sun and how you get that yellow vibration and it feels complete. You look at this one and you feel annoyed and it's too bright and you're not getting any nutrients from it. And that was the thing that changed. You feel exhausted and tired. It's not the same energy that's changing.
So you're saying that the real organic sun is being covered by a fake sun?
I'm saying it's not showing itself right now at all. I believe, and I did the drawing, you can go, and I've been talking about this for a while, that it's like bee cones all around, and it looks like it's a bright light. And you got to pay attention how you feel when you're in it. That's the whole thing. And that's when I did, like I said, this drawing, and that's why it looks that way. It looks like, and I did this a couple months ago. See how that's how it feels. And then you got the clouds that are covering this up, how white it is. That's the thing. And you're looking up, but you know what's doing? It's affecting the water. It's affecting nature. They're not reacting. Sharks are reacting to this. All nature is going to react to something that's not natural. That's the whole thing I've been talking about. So the thing is, when are they going to replace it? When's that going to happen? I think that's going to happen on that 3 days of darkness. I honestly believe we're going into 3 days of darkness. When that happens, then that will change.
In your perspective, what is the catalyst and you could say the concept behind the 3 days of darkness? How can you explain?
Well, with the military, they can do anything in those environments. And that's what I believe. But also, it has to do with our world changing. And when that spotlight, I call it, in the sky, when they change that down, and it's like I tell people, you don't have to believe my predictions until they come to pass. And I write and I draw everything. So the thing is and I asked Spirit about this, like 3 days of darkness is the darkness. It's the darkness. It's staying dark for 3 days. And then as things change, you have the military, because if you want to get into an area, to go after an enemy, you have to understand there's little pods everywhere. So they're going down to the last part of the minions. And they're in your neighborhoods, they're down the street, everywhere. They're in small towns. So, and that's where they're going to tell you to stay in your house. They're going to go out. So in the darkness, it's easier to go after that. But I also think above, there's an environment that's changing, which you can already feel what's going on. And Spirit said it's going to change because you're going to see more of a golden sun. It's being like more of a golden color, and then these golden clouds, and you're going to feel that energy instantly. So it's almost like coming out of a storm, and you know how tornadoes clear and the sky is beautiful. We're not getting clear skies. We're not getting blue, pure skies anymore. We're getting these fog presence, and we're not even getting over here where I live. We're not even getting mist in the morning. And, we used to have it coming off the crops and everything. It's just clouds are not getting that low. It's all above. And then another thing is the stars. You're not seeing the stars the way you used to. It seems very far and distant. We're in a different timeline. We're in a different process right now, but we're busy paying attention to what's going on, but we're not looking above.
So it's all artificially driven in a sense.
Yes, completely. And it feels that way. So we're going through these ascension issues too. Tired, fatigued, not wanting to eat, not desiring any bigger. I'm not touching meats and anything like that. It's just backaches. I'm talking in groups that are having different issues. It's and that's the thing. There's ascension issues that people are not talking about. Numbness, fatigue. I've been getting feeling around my wrist of energy going around, and I'm like, what is that? People are going through different processes of this energy that's hitting us, and that's it's changing. But the thing is, people ascend different. When you finally understand that you're allowing energy to flow through, you're not rejecting it. And that's where you're having the problem with the normies, is they're not open to this. So what's happening? They're just functioning in a way that they know the best they can do. They're going by the old program, and they're irritable. They're on edge. They're tired. They're fighting. They're arguing. They're trying to push something that made them enlightened before. It's not working the same way. Our world is changing. Entertainment is not working. Those flesh needs are not appeasing us anymore. That's what's changing. And so we're tapping out of that program. We can't be fed by the flesh needs no more. It's the spirit that's important now. The soul wants the truth. The soul wants to be enlightened. The soul wants to be at a complete balance level, complete across the board. So that is where we're at, and you can tell there's a confidence with the awakening now. You can tell that it's changing, right? Don't you feel that that whole process is changing? There's a different assurance, calmness, but there's also a spiritual language that they're all feeling and connecting with, and you feel 2 years ago they were uptight and like in that fight, and you can feel that it's kind of resting a little, and where they feel more protected and they feel assured of what's going on, and they're ready for it to be completely exposed. I mean, don't you think where we're at, your title of what you're doing, what I'm doing, is going to change after this flips, right? We're going to be doing humanity projects. We're going to be focusing on what's the next process? What's your soul going to desire to do inside where you have the capability of helping now? Don't you think that's all going to change? We're not going to be on YouTube doing all this all day. We're going to be doing different projects, don't you think?
Absolutely. The humanitarian projects that we all have in mind are going to be financed, where money's not going to be an issue anymore.
Right.
So basically, we're going to still be doing the same work, but we're going to take it to a larger level, is what it's saying.
Yes. And being on the ground and being right in front and see real journalism come back and real broadcasting coming back. You know, none of this fake stuff anymore. And I'm talking about what you see. And I believe that those channels that you're seeing are going down. You're going to see real journalism again. You know, it's in the trenches of it, the truth of it. So I'm excited about being in that process, the next level. I think we're all ready to get to the next level, don't you think?
Absolutely. And do you think that this is probably going to be happening by the end of the year or by spring of 2025?
Well, this is the thing. Spirit told me there was a couple events people wanted me to go to, and they're like, don't you do anything in July, because July is going to be this big transformation stage. Don't do nothing. And I'm talking about. So
are you talking about this July or next July?
This July.
Oh, this
okay.
July. Right.
So we're coming into a transformation period. So August, you're going to feel a little more relaxed, and we're going to see new programs really presenting. You know, I believe the med beds are going to start really showing up. And I mean, and I believe that they're all, because I've always said that they're attached to the government, and they are the ones that are going to submit this out there, you know. So it's how things are just presented here, and you see one here. I believe that they're transporting them, and I've always said that the government's going to be transporting them through semis, where they go from here to there. So you got to pay attention to your highways, what's getting transported at 2 a.m. in the morning, and where they are in front of. You got to pay attention to hospitals, and I believe this whole internet thing was taken down. Certain big entities that were in control of things, and now it's not.
Right.
I think that's already changed. So what I'm saying, Spirit says, so you start to see things for yourself, for your two eyes, to see these slow changes coming in. So we have no more time to waste. The money's already there. We have to go forward. This is another thing. we can't go into another year of this type of education that is a program.
Right. I agree. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna, and then I believe each state is going to get a certain amount, and when they get that certain amount, they can't be going tapping into two different sources anymore. They're like, if you're taking the gold standard, you're going with the new regulations across the board. So watch each state, see what each state does, how they change things different, in independence of making those choices. So I feel we're on the brink all the way.
Right.
The board. We have no time to waste.
Exactly. And this makes a lot of sense, Jenny, because according to the intel that I've been getting from the Galactics in the last few weeks, is that sometime in June, July, all the underground tunnels were going to be completed as far as like, blowing them up, saving the last of the remnants of the humans that have been stuck down there, and really just bringing all of those wicked people up to the surface for a massive arrest.
Well, they have nowhere to go, nowhere to hide.
No, they don't.
No, there is no possibility that they can hide anymore. And this is another thing, Ismael. Those areas have to be cleansed. You can't do anything with those areas. You can't, even if you run water through them, you drown them out. You have to understand that's still in the crust of Earth. And those areas are going to have to be cleansed in a different way. It's not something that's easy. Any situation like that has been repeatedly over and over and over and over. And I know in the area that you live, and I'm sure there's a lot of houses that they're going to have to tear down because no one's going to live in those after all those rituals and everything else that's going on. People think it's the house, and it's actually the land.
Right. That's true. And one of the ways in which they're actually destroying all of those underground bunkers and dumps is through artificial generated earthquakes done by the Y-Hat and the Alliance.
Right. Exactly. And so it's exact targets and the exact areas, and just like these storms that we've had, and you saw how these hurricanes you saw some currents in the hurricanes, and I'm like, if you wanted to hide certain things in the air, which you've seen, you're able to ride out a storm in a different way and go after certain targeted areas. And people are not thinking, oh, well, these are nice areas. You don't know that. You don't know what's underground. You don't know which people are really been paid off and which haven't. But I guarantee you, those certain areas, you're going to find out at the end of what was saturated in there, what they were doing. And that's the whole thing that you're seeing. And all this water that's hitting, again, some of these areas are cleansing out. I mean, Minnesota was bad. I mean, they got flooded big time. They took out barges and bridges. And it needed to, because we know that's a saturated area with a lot of stuff activity. So they're not drowning out Kansas. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You really look at, instead of the media, which I tell people, if you step away from the media and stop watching that and look behind everything, you're going to find the truth. That's the whole thing about this. At the RNC, yeah, that was going on. Pay attention to what was behind everything that was going on behind that. If you look at that view a different way, and you're not just paid attention to what they're trying to get you to look at over here. So, and that's why I tell people, do your own research, pay attention to your own instinct, follow through on that, because there's a lot of stuff going on. I think everybody's dead already. I've been saying that for a while. You're not going to evolve a plan into and allow your enemy to know exactly what you're doing. I believe everything was done 3 years ago.
Right. Everything else just a puppet clone show.
Right.
For the sake of the script.
Right.
Right. I agree.
So we wouldn't continue to let children get hurt. We wouldn't continue just for a process. You know what I'm saying? In that way. There's just no way. And that's the thing that I say.
Mm-hmm.
I say one drop, if you took one innocent drop of blood, you are already done. Because you already made that choice to be on the negative side. You've already made that choice to be on the negative side. So there's nothing left to save inside you when you knew and you were aware of what was in those serums and adrenochrome, and you were willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Why? It's not worth saving. After you come from that, there's nothing. So,
Yeah.
and I believe there should be a day when we get to a certain celebration that we should celebrate a day of those kids that were sacrificed and not ever forget about it. It needs to be remembered for what they went through and the suffering that they went through. We cannot forget.
Yeah, I heard the torture was horrendous to the point where these kids were just half dead, half alive. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be saying this on YouTube, but you're right. We have to have some sort of acknowledgement and memorial for I would say millions upon millions of kids that were literally fed to the lizard people, that were literally sacrificed in, I shouldn't be saying that here, but you know what I mean, like satanic rituals and all that stuff. I mean, when all this stuff comes out and it's exposed to the general public, what do you think are going to be some of the reactions that those that are still drinking the Kool-Aid, those that are still heavily programmed, are going to have?
Well, this is the thing. I have a description, and it's on my YouTube and I on my Instagram, because most of my pictures of my predictions and everything are on Instagram, but it shows a person. It's like you chose this. You chose to either be awake and go through the process of being awake, or to hit the pavement hard and a puke bucket is right by you. There's only two choices. If you deny that, you're going to hit the pavement hard, and you're going to be carrying a puke bucket with you because it's going to hurt. And that reality, they don't want to be wrong. That's the whole thing. They don't want to. And when this does happen, Ismael, you know this, a lot of people are going to be like, don't talk about it. Don't bring it up, because they don't want to admit they are wrong. They denied the truth, period. That's what happened. They chose, it was easier to not look at it because it's too beyond their concept that this could happen, because they trusted their government.
Right.
And that was the wrong thing. They let go of control and didn't want to get involved and went with the program. So now they're going to hit the pavement hard. And they are going to get sick. They're going to get nauseated, but also they're going to hide in their houses and not want to deal with the truth. But again, there's only going to be a couple programs on a couple channels, and it's anywhere they go, they're not going to be able to deny it.
Cognitive dissonance at its finest, huh?
It is. But the soul, when the soul connects with that, the truth, and if they have any morals, if they have any empathy or sympathy, it's going to hit them in an emotional way. And it needs to. You need to connect with their pain, what they went through. And I mean, I've been seeing this stuff for a long time, and I've been working in missing persons, and the stuff that I've saw, and the people that I saw deny or even know where these existence of these children or girls were, and it's all about being bought off, and I was more in fear 3 years ago than I am now about everything going there. How are we supposed to get through this if this keeps happening? And that's the thing. When I do remote viewing, I do the pictures of the criminals. I draw the criminals out, and then I turn it over. I'm not looking at anything to give me that information. I completely am a raw remote viewer. So we're in this, and now we have to deal with the reality and what we did not pay attention and denied. We have to live with this in this whole world of what we turned our back on. We have to. You can't deny it. So that's where it's going to bring you to your knees. The truth.
And it's inevitable. It has to come.
Yeah.
From prophesied about. Yeah, right. That's what I've always believed that the true meaning of apocalypse was all about. Was right. Revealing to the people the stuff that they've been hiding for thousands of years.
Yeah, and so the whole thing is we're in a process. I want to show you this other. I had this download with one of my students, and it was so fast, so quick, and I didn't expect to be in the situation, but I kept always seeing this gold ring, but when it came through that ring, when I saw all these clouds that I think it's going on above us, is they showed me these kind of an astral rocks coming, but they're gold and they got blue on them and all this. So this is kind of a picture that we went and diagrammed. She and I, she put it together. I drew the rough draft, but and those are planets, and we're all getting this vibration that's coming into us, and then this ring of gold. How we're talking about going into the golden ages.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So things are changing. You can't look at things and think things are just a normal process anymore. There's no such thing as a normal no more. We're going through major situations that we never thought we'd be in. So what is taught to us that this is normal was actually wrong, and the opposite is the truth. That's the whole thing, and getting people to understand what's going on. And once you're sitting outside the fire and you're standing in the fire and you're understanding that all this has to crumble, all the buildings, all the bridges, and then you can start over. We can start over with a new world.
Yeah, like that metaphor that they use in mysticism. Through the ashes of the phoenix, there is a new beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. And most of the warriors and the people that were seated here, they're ready for it. They didn't come this far for it to end and not happen. We're like, we don't care. It's going to happen. We're standing here waiting for it, and we'll do whatever we have. We'll sacrifice our lives to make sure that this happens.
Absolutely.
Inner strength inside us. We just want the truth. And when me and you met, and I came across with Spirit, how I am, and the first thing they said about you was the messenger. That was the thing they always confirmed with me, because I see through things because I'm a seer, and that's the first thing. And I contacted you and I was like, I got to talk to you because this is the message. And at that time, being attacked by all these false people, they're always afraid of the truth. So, and you've kept to your task, your target of what you needed done, and then you stayed in your information. And it's funny how you stay on that, when you stay on that path, at the end, everybody's going to see it. You know what I'm saying? At the end, warriors, at the end, it's all going to come clear. So what I'm saying is, whether you have these other scenarios that are saying what's going on, and then you have the other ones that are saying, well, this is what's right. But at the end, it's the ones that are true to the heart saying, I feel this in my inner strength that this is the truth. And there's a purity about that. And that's why it doesn't matter at the end, because it's all going to be seen for the truth, right? No matter what, across the board. And so
Absolutely.
it seems like all that negativity and that false stuff is just falling apart now, don't you think?
It is. I'm seeing it already, especially as Project Odin takes over the airwaves. You know, the Earth Alliance knows who is the real thing, who is legit, who is here to assist, who is here to raise the consciousness, and who is here to, I guess, bring misinformation. And from what I understand is that those that are here to bring misinformation, that are, that have infiltrated as Trojan horses our community, are also going to be exposed with all the darksters and the rest of the cabal
Right?
as information agents. And that's why those attackers, and I know who you're talking about, I'm not going to mention any names, her and her best friend, that crazy woman, whatever, from Britain. I know that.
I call her Tinkerbell, drunk Tinkerbell.
Think about,
Yeah.
yeah. I know that their time is coming, even though they try to, you could say, badmouth me in a lot of ways, but it's okay, because like I don't really care what people say. I know what I'm doing is right, and in the end, only those that are true messengers, true instruments of information will remain, will remain intact. In other words,
Exactly. And so with you, you were focused just on your book. You were focused on the message, and that was the whole thing. You stay to your true information. And at the end, that's all seen in the light, right? And so, and another one that they went after was Laura.
Eisenhower.
Yes, and Marcella. And their show, which is Divine Mother Earth time. And I was so proud of both of them standing up and not taking it. And they have more power than you realize when you stand up for the truth. That's the whole thing. People need to say what they feel, put it out there, and not be afraid, because that whole idolizing is going away. That's a good show too, Mother Earth. And I think it's you were on that show, Divine Mother Earth, time with Laura.
I was, and I was also on Laura Eisenhower's Rumble channel. And again, the same females that attacked me, a year or 2 years ago, began attacking her for associating with me. And so she had to just take it down for a week, and then she reposted it again. But yeah, unfortunately, that's what happens. When you're in this community, you see the people's true colors for what they really are when things are heated. And that's what happened when they saw Laura Eisenhower was on my channel and I was on her channel. At that point, ED and her British friend, that crazy blonde lady, whatever her name is, Danny. Yeah, they completely turn their backs against Laura as well.
Yeah. So it's the truth, and this is the thing. You don't have to when you're dealing with the truth. You don't have to remember everything. Everything just flows. It just flows. You have to remember the lies. You have to put a program together of remembering the lies and what you said and all that stuff. And that's why when I do shows, I don't care. I'm like, just let it flow the way it needs to come out. I don't have to remember, because where I get it, and just let it flow out. But the truth stays consistent on the information. It doesn't change.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's one thing. A lot of my viewers like about me is that I have been consistent from day one. Like I don't change things. I don't deviate, and yeah, I'm sticking to my guns. I'm sticking to my truth, and I'm going to continue sharing information as long as
it's great, though. I mean, at the end of this, I think all of us, Ismael, at the end of this, it's literally going to bring us to our knees. It's like mankind, where we're at. And this is the thing, and I tell people, we're at the point of the, called the 7 seals. And who is worthy enough? and they talk about this, and I say, you know what it is? It's mankind in a conscience together.
Mhm.
It's going to change our world in bringing that light in, because the dark cannot survive in the light. It cannot. That's why it hides from it. That's why it masks itself in the dark. That's why it moves itself to the dark. And then where Spirit told me that basically there's going to be light upon this earth, and the negative cannot breathe or exist in it. It's going to self-combust. And I have that on many predictions when I talked about it on my channel. But so the thing is, it can't survive in it anymore. Mm-hmm. So people are working together as one, which our world is changing into a nation. That alone, that existence of that energy is so uplifting. That very moment, it changes it. And that's what's already happening, with the awakening. That's what's going on with this process. And I, like I was talking about all those bridges. I did the bridges 2 years ago, and they, in March it started going down. I do predictions 2 or 3 years out. I don't wait till they get close. I'm like, here, go look here. That's documentation, And so the thing is, when I saw you, I said, and they said the messenger. Okay. And then that's when I contacted you, because I see through things, and I was like, okay, present it, show me. And that's what we just went through it, right? So that's the thing. It was important.
I do remember that. I was kind of, I was like, am I even worthy enough to be a messenger? And you're like, Ishmael, that's what Spirit is telling me, that you are a messenger. And I just I took it in a way where I humbled myself. I said, if that is the case, I'm going to have to teach by example. I'm going to have to live right, and I have to live accordingly, and walk my talk, if that is the case. That's just the way it's going.
You know what I call people in everyone that's awake, every place where they are, in the States or across the world, they're podiums of light. And they don't realize that until we go down into this situation, and everybody's going to remember those people that were talking about this. And those are those podiums of lights, because they have the information all through this world. And they're specifically put where they need to be at the time of this existence, the whole process. And so I believe that Trump's position is the ambassador, because the world has chose him. They trusted him. So it's not the presidency, it's the shepherd and the bastard. And the shepherd and the ambassador. But you know what I'm saying? Those are the two things, that because they trust him enough with the financial process. So, and that's the whole thing. And people are going to feel that when we're in this, and they feel it inside them. And like I said, there's a sound that's going to come from the ear in the back here that's tuned into Creator. And we're all going to hear that voice. And we're all going to hear the animals stand still at the same time in that nature's vibration. And that's what's going to happen. That's already happening. We're already tuning our conscience, and you can feel that come in that vibration. So we're already in that fine-tuning stage. So everybody that has used their voice has opened their mind to the truth. They're the podium, the light. There's not one person. It's not an ego process. There's not one person that's going to save us. It's us as a collective together.
Absolutely. And that is my underlining teaching, is that I'm here to ignite everybody's remembrance as way showers, as light warriors who incarnate in human form. And that is so true. It is a collective effort. We are a team, we are a team. And we are all equal. We are all born with talent. And it's just a matter of working together with our abilities, our talents, and our gifts to make
Right.
that change. Yeah.
See, and I really push off all the negative now. It doesn't even exist for me, all the negative, all the fear mongering, because we came to this process to be in this moment. We were seated here. There's no way that we're going another direction. We're finishing this off, And so that's why I tell people, focus on your inner self and what's telling you, because that is the thing that religion, the churches, all of it together, they did not want you to focus on the inner strength you had. You always had the capability to connect with Creator all along, and that's what they were afraid of that power, completely.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's why we're seeing a huge decline in religion, because a lot of people are sparking up. They're becoming illuminating from the inside out.
Right. It's awesome. They're seeing it. It's a time, and that's gonna. I think that's gonna fall overnight.
But all religion, organized religion.
I think it's gonna fall overnight when this comes out, completely across the board.
But there still be a sense of spirituality. I believe that.
The spirituality. Yeah.
In fact, I think at that point, once religion is completely abolished, I think that that'll offer an even greater opportunity for all of humanity to connect with the Christ within.
Right. So there's a quote, Joel Osteen, I sent him many years ago back. He denied his people when they needed him, when they had that flood. And I go, as you deny them their fruits that God has been, that you were supposed to be given them, you will not be denied the fruits, and you will be denied, but you will be going to another place, because once you deny people, God's people, and what you're supposed to be a temple of to help them at the time of need, he shut the door.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that. And he's another one that's going down completely. So it's all noted. It's all being seen, because, I've seen it over and over with religion.
And another thing that's not going to exist anymore is secret societies. The age of secrecy is over. We are calling for transparency in this new world.
Mm-hmm.
No more lies, no more deception, no more secret societies. And one of the things that I do talk about in my book, The Secret Government, Invisible Architects, I don't know if you read it, Jenny, but people are raving about it. They're saying that it's so easy to digest, so much information going back 6,000 years ago, tracing this battle between these two bloodlines, the white hats and the dark hats. But what I was saying is that throughout history, because of the fact that this world was temporarily given over to the dark side, the forces of light needed to operate through secret societies. They had to. They had to play them in their own game. How else would they be one up on them if it wasn't for their clandestine, networks that they also plotted against the dark side for many, many years? And that's why the Alliance is now in a key position to win. But I believe that once we eliminate evil as it is, then there will be no need for secret societies. And the Alliance knows that. I believe. Even at that point, everything will be transparent.
Yeah, and well, it's in one complete balance together, because it's not the rich and the poor; it's an existence as one,
Right.
And then I really believe, then what's really neat is when you see stuff that's happening in our world, when you see the existence of pain and suffering, and you see the true souls come together and help and volunteer, that's the thing that needs to be awakening in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
They need to remember to go back to that, how you helped your neighbor in a different way, And that is probably the most enlightened thing that you feel the best is when you can help someone. It's pure of heart, not expecting anything else in return, but of purity, because it's you as a good person to do that. Mm-hmm. And that is where Hollywood has fed the ego, and the negative side of that. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the things that I channeled a long time ago, and it was important to me to acknowledge this, is the fact that they took the one thing that affects and hurts the creator, was take the most innocent thing you can and hurt it. And that's what they did. They used it as a tool.
The ultimate blasphemy.
Yes. And they're going to pay for it.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
So, and that is the situation is we're just here to give the information, to get everybody in line, and as many as we can to ascend into the light. And when this happens, they're all awake and they're aware. I think it's funny that they're trying to do this blue beam crap. And I honestly believe that people are in existence. They're like, bring it on. We do not care. When we decide that aliens and whatever alien version that is that can come in more than what man has done right now, we're at that point. I'm literally saying that is going to backfire in their face because people do not care. They're at a point, we're done. Bring it on. Mm-hmm. Literally. I don't know. Do you know anybody to be afraid to see it? I don't at this point. Nobody. They're not fazed by anything anymore. At all.
I agree. I think, people are at that point where they don't care anymore. We just want to know the truth. We want to know the truth, and we want for there to be some accountability. That's it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Across the board.
Exactly. Now, you are familiar with the last card, right? That the Cabal was planning, right? That was even murmured by Werner von Braun, which is something that a lot of people in our community are warning people about. But I say it was canceled. There's going to be no alien or fake alien event anymore. That was canceled. That happened in a negative Earth timeline. Can you confirm that?
I don't believe that. Like again, it's a negative process that they maybe had a door and opportunity at a certain time, and now that door is closed, and there was no way that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And then that has to do with the light and the dark. At the end of this existence, it was not. We had to make a choice, whether we were going to allow this Earth to be more dark or more light, and we have passed that timeline on that process because we made a choice. Okay. Because the light will always be stronger than the dark. That's what they wanted. They needed, this is going to go back to the Holy Land. If you listen to parts of the Bible, and Spirit always tells us certain things are true and certain things are not. You have to go by what you feel on this. But they were talking about the last war. And I believe that if it was going to start, it was going to start from that Holy Land. Because I believe that they would be submerged into this evil process at that area. Mm-hmm. But also in the Holy Land, there's so much that is hidden because I believe that is a pile of churches. What's underneath there needs to be completely brought to the surface. And I mean items, I mean historian situations, certain precious items. I believe it's all a big clump of mountain, and they put churches on it to hide what was underneath there.
Yes, I agree with that because people talk about what was underneath the Vatican, but little do they know that there's a lot more stuff going on in Israel underneath those temples. Mm-hmm. One of them was an excavation that was conducted by the Knights Templars about 1700 years ago, well, actually 14, maybe even 1600 years ago, when they rose to power. And one of the reasons why they rose to power so quick and why they were able to infiltrate the Roman Catholic Church from within in order to get acceptance as the military, you could say, army for God, right? In those days, is because of the fact that they found a lot of information in the old ruins of Solomon's Temple, and I do believe strongly, Jenny, that what the Knights Templars discovered was more than just relics, was more than just treasures and secret items. I do believe that they found some amazing knowledge that if it were to be discovered by the Roman Catholic Church, we wouldn't be here right now, speaking freely in a free world. You know what I mean?
Very true. And I did a remote viewing on that area, and they showed me, of course, all these pools, but they also showed me gold.
Yeah, exactly.
Gold bigger, and then like if they could have moved it, they would have already moved it. And I saw where you see these boulders that you can't move on what they show on pyramids and stuff. He goes, wait till you see what's under the ground that they can't move. So they showed me that in a channeling session I did, and so and only that, the gold is different. It's not the same. There's such a gold tense to it. And but then they also showed me something about the Anunnakis that were in that area too. When they put something in the ground too. So for some reason, at that time, there was a lot going on, and I really am intrigued by the history, but I'm waiting for them to resurface everything that's underneath there.
Yeah, I actually was able to access some of the stuff that the Anunnaki were hiding over in the old temples of Israel. And some of this stuff is an ancient technology that they used to build civilizations overnight. We hear about it all the time. How the heck did primitive people, tree climbing people, in 24 hours, became architectural. They became engineers. They became, construction workers. They learned how to play music. Like, how do you explain that overnight? Well, there was this something that the Anunnaki used to use in order to pretty much create civilizations overnight. And they called them MEs. I don't know if you ever heard of terminology of ME, but I think ME was a technology, a type of advanced replicator that would allow the Anunnaki to pretty much just pop cities into existence, already fully intact, civilized cities into existence, which explains the sudden emergence of summer.
Right.
And others, civilizations.
So, and this is the thing, when and I think, with me, I go by my own information. I don't follow anybody's. I channel it and I just put it out there. That. So I just let it go. And that's the whole thing. And that's what's interesting about the Holy Land. They're like, there's these levels of artifacts, but they also show these small doors. They're like, all these small doors lead to somewhere. And they showed me all this stuff. And then so it's going to be interesting when all that is really revealed and the history of it, that we need to demand open those doors, open the history, what's really going on, because it's so easy to put a bunch of churches and pile it on a land and then try to hide everything. That was the thing. And if you look in the old Bibles, Jimmy Swagger has one, and it has the old city, and they have all the rivers connected, and I think all those were healing pools underneath and everything else too. There's just so much stuff that I don't think we're going to be blown away when they bring up the true history of it. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, exciting times. Exciting times, Jenny.
It is.
And you're right about the gold. A lot of that gold actually stemmed from Solomon's treasures. Solomon was not only the wisest man in the world, as he was connected to the extraterrestrial angelics. but he was also the most wealthiest man on the planet during his times.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of those treasures that he left behind were intended to be inherited by future descendants of Solomon, which explains the 9 Frenchmen that went over to Jerusalem to excavate those treasures. And guess what, Jenny? One thing that I came to understand and find out in this whole mystery behind what happened to the Knights Templars after their persecution in 1307, when Philip the Bell and Pope Clement V, who were cabal back then, ordered for their persecution. Well, the reason they were able to preserve themselves and their treasures was because the remnant Templars that were not burned at the stake, which was a good number of them, only a small percentage were left behind to be, the martyrs,
Right.
camouflaged as the original pirates. And I always tell people the original pirates were actually the Brotherhood of the Coast. They were the original, remnants of the persecuted Knights Templars. And the reason why they were obsessed with X marks the spot was because all they were doing, as they were already sailing the 7 seas and the Atlantic and the Pacific hundreds of years before Columbus, they were securing their treasures through all the different islands.
Well, I think that's funny because it has to do with the ley lines. Because over here in Minnesota, you have a lot of Viking era times too, and then you have the natives at around that. And there's, of course, the government doesn't want you to find any of that history, doesn't want you to know anything about that, and you have all these codes and laws that you can't dig all this information up. And that's the whole thing. Everything, our history is hidden in the ground, and we need to surface everything up down to Antarctica, which I think is just a trove of information there that's sitting under the ice and now melting. But I think everything's surfacing. So I mean so I think we're going to be doing a lot of digging, because I think they did a lot of stuff in the grounds, and now you're slowly starting to see that they're showing all this stuff, that's starting to surface, and people are starting to dig it up, and because they hid everything. They didn't want our knowledge of our past to be surfaced, because then we would be very independent and we would not be enslaved.
I agree. Yep. And that is the reason why they've always tried to rewrite history, or at least falsifies it to a large degree, where everything we've ever been taught is actually false.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be an interesting transition.
Well, we have to relearn the truth, and some of us are in steps of doing that. But the program, yeah,
exactly. And I believe that people that are awakened are ahead of the rest of humanity. We're like the pioneers of this new world. In a way.
Yeah, none of us are in fear. We're just standing waiting for it to crumble. We're like, okay, we're ready. Bring it on.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's interesting how things are changing. But I like I said, for where we are now, I don't think anybody should be in a fear process. Mm-hmm. It's an enlightened energy that's out there. If you tap into what they're putting out there, the only ones that are pushing the fear is the ones that know at the end of this, they're not going to exist anymore, because those programs that they have pushed, no one's going to listen to anymore, because they're going to know the truth about them. And that is the problem. And if you see fear on them, which YouTubers or whatever, and they're just pushing products at a different pace you and I have talked about, they're running out of time. They're running out of time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so now, huh?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I always tell my viewers that don't buy into the negative timeline. Unfortunately, there are some supposed truthers in our community that are still teaching, or not teaching, but that are still promoting the Project Blue Bin fake alien agenda.
Oh, I know. But you know what? Who's actually owns them? That's the whole thing you got to ask yourself. you know, at the end they have to show who their loyalty goes. You have to show who owns you. You know what I'm saying? And what contract did you make? You know, and that's the whole thing. So at the end, you're going to know anyway. But if you sense and smell the desperation, you're going to see it yourself. Right now at this process, that's what I was talking about. There's more relaxed state. We kind of know we're at this process. And the ones that are in fear, you have to wonder why.
Exactly. Did you hear that, everybody? It is about being in a no fear state.
Yes.
That is going to cause, or the separation of the wheat from the tart. What is it? The wheat from the taff. I can't even think of that biblical quote. The harvest.
Yeah, it's going to be very enlightened, and like Spirit said, you know, it's almost like there's the negative's going to self-combust in a process, you know, and ashes to ashes again. You're going to see it just disappear.
Right, and we're already seeing that, witnessing the completely disintegration of the Democratic Party in terms of politics.
Exactly. So
would you like some questions that you see on the chat?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead and present the.
Sure. You guys have any questions for Jenny Lee, the Oracle? Please address them in big capital letters.
Seer.
Seer Oracle Medium. You rather prefer Seer, right?
Yeah, Seer.
Just remind us, you directly connect to God, and that's it, right? You don't talk to ascended masters.
Creator. That I go. And that goes straight up, and that's why I can tap in to different beings, but it's more of a respect thing if they want to tap in. Usually if I just hear a name or an energy and then it goes right in very fast. I mean, it doesn't take that long with me to present their energy, because and this is what I've always said, they know me here and they know me there. So they know your true intentions of why you do things. That's the whole different situation of how I got it, and that I learned this in a natural way, and I had no teachers.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this up. Thank you so much, Sandy Foster, for that beautiful reminder regarding the biblical quote that I was trying to say, separating the wheat from the chaff. Thank you so much for that reminder. Let's see. Any questions here? All right, here's a question. Jenny Lee, how can people explain away Trump pushing the vaccines with war speed? It seems dissonant to me to forget that.
So it's hard because, first of all, what Trump was in front of you?
That's what I've been telling people. That wasn't the real Trump.
Was in front of you.
I agree.
And this is the thing you have to remember. If it was the real one, he would have recalled, and when he presents something, he reinstates it over and over and over and over. And you heard that one time. And I asked Spirit about that, and they go, that's not the real one. That's not the real one. And you know that there's been many. To get him to do something inside his soul that he does not agree with, it's like nearly impossible. And just as you've seen. So no, I don't believe it was him. Yeah,
that's what I said in an interview when I first came into the scene, that was not the real Trump. And so you completely just validated that, and I completely agree. There was a question here about, they wanted to know if the earth was flat.
So let me ask, I'm going to describe this to you because I know me and you are kind of different on this end. So what I see, because this was shown to me in a channeling session, And what they showed me, because they showed me you have the surface on the top that's circular. On the bottom under it's more of like a mountain that's flipped. And I believe that there are levels of inner beings in levels. I believe there's an inner earth, and there has been an existence of inner beings for a long time. So now people go, it's not like the round earth, flat earth. I believe, like I said, and Spirit has showed me and told me, this planet's in puzzles. This is when things shift, plates move, and like they said before, there'll be islands that'll appear that did not appear again. So everything to me, and I did a drawing how there are plates that are shifting in levels. So to me, it's not on the surface it shows, but on the bottom there's all these different levels, and so there's inner beings, and that's where it's hard for people to reside, because I don't see it in one completely way and I don't see it in another. So I don't see it. I see it flat on top, and then underneath there's this mountain terrain in levels that it looks like to me. So because they showed me these plates, and that our planet is like everything else. It's it moves and shifts. So that's what they showed me in the channeling session. And then when I saw that, and then also, you know, that I talked about this red ruby, which you see, everybody's talking about this now, over Antarctica when it formed in the sky and how it moved around. And they showed me this would eventually move over to Arizona area in the sky and all that. So this whole process where this started, and everybody saw this. So now that's where this is connected to the Pleiadians, because they're the ones that showed me all this. And they said that this energy, it has value universally, and that it's worth a certain amount with. So this is kind of what you've seen all over the world, how this is changing, this energy. And this was what 2.5 years ago I drew this, and where it started over the ice, and they called it the Ruby Lake first, and then as they showed me lifting up and moving around, that was how things changed. So I draw everything I get. So, and then when it actually started showing up, then that was a different deal. So I don't doubt what they put in front of me anymore.
Yeah, I've always felt that the Earth was, in essence, a toroidal field in terms of energy, how it's spinning like a duck nut. Like we are toroidal fields, right? When we activate the light body through the chakras. And I think that's just the way, existence is. Everything is just a field of energy, right? A toroidal field of energy, right? With like a funnel at the center, which is how energy is self-generated, with unlimited amounts of inexhaustible sources. But so, yeah, I mean, I've always believed that there are also layers within the Earth or caverns that lead into inner Earth civilizations, which is really what Admiral Byrd discovered. I think what he did when he went to Antarctica is he went through an entry point through his ship, and then he realized that he wasn't on Earth anymore, that those were totally different continents. And yes, these people on these continents were far more advanced than the surface world.
Right. I believe that there's different waters too, because they showed me, and I've talked about people and they tell me about this, and I keep always seeing this blue stone that Spirit says there's a value to this blue stone, but as it hits the ground and it hardens, it'll be very valuable. So, but they always show me there's different waters, in different levels. So they showed me that too. And this is the thing that I think people get frustrated with me, because I don't go by anybody's information. I just channel the stuff, write it, draw it, and put it out there, and that's the whole thing about it. because I don't know where it's going, what I'm going to do on a weekly basis until it's presented, you know? So yeah, I believe everything's in layers underneath us. But I believe there's a ton of knowledge again that we need to allow that to surface. And that is where you hear the shepherd Trump talking about watch the waters, watch what's going to happen with that. So I believe things are surfacing that are coming to the light in the situation. So
Awesome. Now, you did mention the Pleiadians.
Yes.
Can you, in your take, the Pleiadians, what are they? I mean, I know who they are, but I just want to hear from your perspective. I've always believed that they were angels.
So, this is the thing that someone tried to present to me, them in a negative way. And I said, listen, their very existence is not formed into that negativity in any way. Their existence is to form to serve and have enlightened information and share. They're not in any way have any part of evilness in them. And that's when they showed me this above the ice that they were guarding it. And this is someone asked me about the Pleiadians, and I was like, you're kidding me. You really believe that they're in some negative light? And so I went up there and asked the question, and they're like, Jen, don't worry about that because you already know the answer to this. Now look at this red ruby lake. It was that quick of turning, and they're like, we're guarding this. This is important. And so they're a higher being of understanding, universal, that keeps things in balance in the light. They don't know any part of evil in that way. They don't work in that way. They're warriors in a different way, but it's the peace of an energy that like we tap into. Like when I do meditation and I teach classes on the meditation with the students, I go, feel this energy, this existence of this warmness as a collective that works together. And that is the thing about the Pleiadians. They work as such a collective together. And you can feel that in balance. And so that's the whole thing. I feel it different with Arcturians and Andromedas. I can see them in different energies. I've done drawings on them, on all that. And the thing is that there's just this different existence of doing what is right. And a balance of the universe. And they are not corruptible. That's the biggest thing. They can't be bought or sold. So it's a higher dimension beings that are here and they know their mission and they're not going to sway on any direction.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, because there are some controversies out there. There are a few people who believe that some of the Pleiadians are negative, and not all of them are of the light. And I just wanted to get your perspective on that.
Well, what I would tell you, and you know this too, and I've said this several times, as someone has drew their description as a Fabio, which is, and I'm talking some aliens that look like human flesh beings. There's these vessels of light, and they don't look like Fabio coming from one of the ships. And that's the thing I have a joke about is it's just like you're gonna have all these women and they think all these gorgeous aliens are coming off, and they're like, hey, I'm sorry, we have big heads and we're green and blue. It's not the way it works. You know what I'm saying? It's just funny how they adapt to that flesh need to get them drawn into thinking that's their existence. So you're going to miss the whole process there, that they don't look like that. When I channel and see them, I mean, they have really high bone structures and massive heads, and intelligence is the attractiveness there. It's intelligence. It's not the flesh, So it's pretty interesting. When I see one that describes a book, and he looks like Fabio, and he's attractive. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. You know, 'cause it's about, and you know, conscience on the other side. It's about that's what draws you into an energy.
Mhm.
It's the balance of conscience. It's not the outside, you know, and that's the whole thing that we have gone into the human process. It's the outside. It is not. It's the conscience. It's the energy. It's the frequency. It's the enlightened. That's what's
Right. Yeah. And they are very beautiful people, from what I understand.
right. They are. But what I'm saying is it's and this is when I teach class, I always say to myself and to my students, say, show me your original form as you are. So my conscience will adapt to whatever that form is, and I'm not expecting a certain form. You know what I'm saying? So we're not in that 3D expecting, well, it has to be this form because we've been taught this form. It's like, no, your head and your mind and your conscience is clear, is like, I'm going to accept it for its original form. And at that moment, you're going to accept whatever that comes into that form. You're just going to trust that energy. And they know that you're able to accept that.
So we have a question from Nature Boy. He says, absolutely love you, Jenny. What is your take on shadow people? I see them sometime, but I don't feel evil from all of them.
I don't either. So sometimes you have to understand the conscience and the shadow people are just literally stuck. Sometimes they're repeating a time over and over. And just say like a timeline. Sometimes they're stuck in a timeline. And this is the funny thing, even with spirits, they're earthbound spirits, I tell people, everybody thinks it's about us, and it's not. It's not about us. Sometimes they're just walking through a dimension, they're walking through an area, and it's not about us whatsoever. So that's the whole thing. So I think we get too much into what we're seeing at our conscience, and understanding that those shadow people are sometimes seeing things, and that's why you're seeing them walk through things, and they're not even paying attention. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not, but it's dimensional. And then their view, like we go into dreams, you're looking at a different view, at a conscience you can understand. And that's why I say dreams, you have control of ending it, because you have the power to say no, but we don't realize that. So when we're going through dreams too, we're walking through dimensions. So if you take the power in the dream and say no, and then once you do that, you realize that that dream ends and another begins. So if you understand the control that you have in your dreams, so that in Spirit has showed me, is we're walking through dimensions. And we always want to put things together as a human and think it's the one storyline, one thing's together, and we can't understand that. So if you separate it, it makes more sense. So, and that's the thing. We think it's all about us, and sometimes it's not. They're just walking through. That's the thing. So, and I think also with these time travels, you see just appearing, they're going from one end to another. They're coming and doing something. So we have to kind of look at it as a universal situation instead of this one process.
What are the black-eyed children?
The black-eyed children. And I'm going to describe this in an energy. I get a very heaviness with that energy, and it doesn't feel enlightened at all. It feels very heavy with the situation. And I feel like you would say this, I'm going to, like they're showing me more of an Anunnaki process of an energy that mess with things, but to put fear out there. Does that make sense to you? So,
well, I think that From what I understand, the black-eyed children that have been appearing in the last, 20, 25 years, I think, that's when they've been appearing. I think that they're part of these hybridization programs that are just not,
Underground, they
yeah,
said.
they're happening in secret, exactly.
Right, and then somehow it's connected to Anunnaki, and also at that time when it started, and then because the energy, I look at something when it's heavy or light, so I wouldn't be surprised if some of them with the soulless process of that, but also the ones that you've seen, these piercing blue-eyed children. It's a different blue. It's like a 5D blue.
Mm-hmm.
And they showed me this in the future with this, is they call them the blue coil children.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like energy going through them. And if we go into a 5D, you put them in a 5D, their whole demeanor, this blueness would come out more of a vibrant color. And they said that their conscience would change. So it's almost like a 5D in the crystal line within themselves, and you see that piercing through the skin. So Spirit has talked about these blue coil children a lot. And they're saying these are the futuristic children, that they're higher intelligence, like super high intelligence. So they're showing me that they would work with them as a community. It's a community that helps them be enlightened. It's not just one parent in that process. So I've actually talked about them a lot because I like the fact that our children in the future will be highly intelligent in a different way. And our form is changing, our skin, pigmentation, and all that, and how we go into the crystal line.
Mm-hmm. We have another question from Ingrid. She says, is there a planetary karma caused by expelling Draco reptilians from Earth? Appreciate giving us a short summary on this fact. Thank you both.
And the planetary karma caused by expelling Dracos. Okay, so I'm going to use this in a process that Spirit has explained this to. So they showed me, and I know people have seen them, but they describe it as these boxes. And in a challenge session, they said that not to allow man to get near them, or because it's like the movie Alien, how it just gets sucked through the window. Mm-hmm. And so the cause is the expulsion of, she's talking about the Draco reptilians from Earth. Yes. So they're showing me these boxes that are just presented in a dimensional process here. And when it goes in, it can hold those compartments of that type of energy and dismantle them, as they say, and then they can take it, carry it, or take it somewhere else. So I have drawn these boxes, and it's just like only one area, and it feels like it just sucks it through, and then it's a big compartment. So that's what they're telling me. So I'll be giving a short summary of it.
All right, thank you. Fair enough. My take is that the reason why, well, first and foremost, the Galactics have already escorted most of the Dracos. However, a few remained, a few that hid, and those that hid are actually going to get, you could say, hit hard by the solar flare. It's going to actually zap them, disintegrate them, and they know that that is going to happen, and they are scared about that. They're scared that they're going to get zapped with this solar flare. It's about to change everything on this planet. But that's from what I've seen in my own visions, is that whatever remaining or lurking extraterrestrials that are negative, that are still hiding within the inner Earth or throughout our solar system, are actually going to get hit hard and illuminated when the great solar flash happens.
So your solar flare and my pink fog are the same. They can't exist in that environment. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because the Draconians and negative aliens are not vibrating with fifth dimensional gamma ray frequencies. You know, they're very low frequency. So of course they're going to burst when the
Right.
Earth is fully in the higher frequency or the higher vibrational frequencies.
Right.
It's not going to match anymore. So their bodies are just going to disintegrate.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I describe it as a pink fog. And yeah, they can't, and that's the ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
Mm-hmm.
Existence of it is like a matrix of just particles, and they just disappear.
Exactly. And I would also like to add that they're going to experience spiritual death, whatever their consciousness was that was still animating their body. There are two types of deaths. There is physical death, and then there is spiritual death. Now, what is spiritual death? Spiritual death is when an evil being does not want to learn its lessons, does not want to accept the light, and so the only last thing left to do by Prime Creator Source is to extinguish its individuality. And that's what spiritual death is, by the way.
Right. So there we go with those, with the most evil, like they said, those boxes.
Mm-hmm.
That okay, so they did described it as Hillary's soul. So that's the soul that you want to go in an existence ever again, and so they dismantled it. Period. You know, in a different way. So there's a dismantling of the body, but there's a dismantling of the spirit that is not useful in any dimension ever again, and we do not want to have the existence of it.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. And it makes a lot of sense, you know, if you're an evil entity and you have been giving many changes to change, to reform, join us or be doomed, join us or be extinguished. I mean, at that point, you know, the only last thing left to do is just to be extinguished if there's no way you're going to change. Let's see. I'm just looking for questions. Galactic Jedi, this is your opportunity to ask me and Jenny Lee anything you guys want. Please do. We love you too. I like this. I'm gonna share this. This is from Elite Savior. Sent to be deleted as per the Galactic Codex. Send your demons to the sun today with the Galactic Republic. I love that. Let them be burst in the sun. Exactly. Let's see. Oh, I didn't even ask you about your time. I know it's probably late where you're at. You're 3 hours ahead, right?
No, it's almost 10 here. It's fine.
Okay, so you know, just let me know if you still have a few minutes left. I mean, we could probably wrap it up in about 20 minutes. If you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, when you were talking about your solar flare, and then, like I said, that whole energy of our atmosphere and how the colors are, and it changes the enlightenment that's going to hit Earth, is like the spirit was telling me, the colors that you think are enlightened, imagine it. You know, the greens are just emerald greens. The reds are just completely red. You know, I think those existence of colors, when we go into a higher dimension and seeing this world change, things are going to blossom different.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty neat.
There was a question I wanted to pin down. I think it's this one. Let's see. No, it's not that one. Let's see. What is that question? Oh yeah, there it is. What is Jenny's take on AI imitating people? I think that's what it was.
Okay. So what I think, and I've talked about this in a presentation, what I think you need to keep an eye on New York, because I think there's organic systems, there's AI systems that are connected in different ways, and there's different types of clones. I think New York's going to be your example. When things go down, you're going to see them just freeze in time. Like they're not going to move. They're going to be in New York, and people are going to think they're human, and they're not moving. So I believe that there's several type of AI. Once that AI is severed, nothing's going to move. Nothing's going to transmit to those components of. And I think there's a lot of versions of it that we're seeing. And when that happens, they keep showing me New York is your example. And everybody thinks it's going to think that these humans are just, there's something wrong with them, and they're not. It's the program that you are going to bear the witness of how many are out there. Also, the fact that I don't think that there's that many, you're going to see this, but you're going to see how many are actually humans with a soul versus all these programs that have been on this earth. That is going to be very clear.
Okay. I think he wanted to know about the AI, like deepfake, that are imitating people like me and you. Have you had that happen to you, Jay?
So I believe the percentage of that is, gosh, what did I tell you a long time ago that I said, by the time everything switches, there's only going to be a few people left on YouTube?
Yeah, you mentioned that about a year and a half ago.
Yeah. So, this is how, and this is what I said, is buy the product that they push, buy the corporation that is behind the product, and who owns them. So that's what I told people. All you have to do, so the percentage of that, what Spirit did, and I wrote it in the book, in the spiritual enlightened community that's not bought and sold is we're only about 15%. The rest is bought and sold. And that those ones that are, because they stay on their path, they stay true to their trueness, they cannot be bought and sold. And people know which ones they are because they feel it inside. And then there's a wave, there's a wave where they'll start to talk about something. Here's an example. Whereas we talked about this, the cell phone thing and how it's going to blow up in your ear and how that was going to just fuse. And everybody jumped on that bandwagon. Remember? It was just going, put in your micro. I'm like, and I told people, I said, go back and call bullshit. And all you're going to hear is birds tweeting because nothing's going to happen. I said, go back and remind him. And that's what I'm talking about, a program. They present it. You see an effect that these spiritual people are not thinking on their own. They're just following the algorithm and moving that idea and that process and that program through. They're not thinking on their own. They're not coming with the original ideas that is one after another copying it. So original ones, there's a source within you that's original. So yes, there's a big percentage that I don't trust. And when people ask me, there's only a handful of people that I trust. A handful. That's it. So that tells you, but your inner strength is telling you anyway. You know what? When you talk to someone on these platforms or in spiritual, within 2 seconds, you know the truth already. Because it's already telling you inside within 2 seconds. Because when something's enlightened, you are just addicted to feeling that energy of truthness. And then you're waiting, they get you on these shows, and at the end, they'll give you the last tidbits that you've been waiting for that whole show. And it's frustrating. You know what I'm saying? It's how they lead you to that. And that's the whole thing. It should be constant enlightenment information and not holding it as ransom.
Is there anything else that you want to share or any questions that you might want to answer? I mean, the chat is going so fast, I don't even know where to start.
So, the thing is, what I think is most important is how this transformation is coming to some stages of ending, but starting new beginnings. Mm-hmm. So this is important for everybody. And I've said this to my students in my signal group, how important each individual that is here, that has a soul, that has a meaning to be here. You have to decide. Forget about the money right now. Mm-hmm. Forget about the distance, because that's going to happen fast. You really need to think about that you can afford to help in humanity ways. And you have to ask yourself, how am I going to serve? After that money's in, the 24 hours change. You have to start to think about that. That is what is important right now. So how are you going to serve? How are you going to help humanity? That's important as an individual to start to think about it. That's the message the Spirit wants you to cross.
So I hope everyone out there that's listening in has somewhat of an idea regarding a humanitarian program. If money wasn't the issue, what would you guys do for the collective? What would you guys do for humanity, the animals, and the ecosystem? This is a super chat from Nature Boy. Jenny, have you remote viewed the middle timeline Ismael has talked about? Have you seen or drawn it? I have dreams about it.
I have not, but usually when I work on remote viewing, you basically present a target to me and then I go into it that way. So mostly remote viewing, I don't do like general. I have to be specifically presented in front of me. So it's something we can look at. But no, I have not. I only do what is presented to me in front of me. I don't look for it.
I see. Yeah, ever since I talked about this middle timeline, I actually introduced that to the collective about 6 months ago or so. There's been a few other people that have validated that, and I was like blown away that they have looked into it. And so maybe they thought you probably already knew that too. But let's see, any other questions? This person's saying that Michael Jaco?
Uh-huh.
Okay, saying Michael Jaco said what's coming is the Twin Towers times 13. Oh boy, people still think that's some massive scare event still going to be happening.
And then here we go with the fear. The fear.
It's all fear. Exactly. That's what I tell people. It's all
over it, and they're still pushing that
whole
process. And the whole, and it's like a show that's going to end. It's going to end because by now they're showing who they're loyalty to. So, and I told them the other day, or I saw a post on X, and I said, knock off the shit. Knock it off.
My audience knows well to stay away from the the doomsdayers or those that are just talking about negative events that are still going to be happening. No, it's not going to happen anymore, guys. As of the 8th of April, I've already mentioned that the White Hats have secured a steady, gradual, positive timeline. The age of Aquarius, the golden age, is inevitable.
Right. And the thing is just when you take that conscience and you evolve in the fact that you have control of your path now, and there were creative beings, do not give someone that much power. Period. The negative. Do not give them that power. You have restored your strength and your capability and your conscience. Do not give them that much power. And not only that, when they say that, call them out on it. Say, no, that is not happening. You are putting a fear process out there, and it's not going to happen. So we have control of where we're going in the future. So just Just completely call them out on it across the board. Fear porn.
Jenny, do you have any upcoming events or anything that you're going to be doing that you might want to share with us?
Well, I haven't done a big event in a long time, but I'm actually going to do one in Florida. I haven't announced it yet, so it's coming out. So in the next coming week, because I have been making some decisions, and I kind of want to travel and get an RV and kind of go in a lot of places. I've just decided that I want to be close to nature and do a bunch of stuff. So those will be posted on my website when I am presenting that. And Ismael, I'm not about wasting time. I'm all about sucking up the information. All I want to do is give the information out. I mean, I'm just one of those people that it's nonstop. And this is what I want to talk about with you. The thing is, people have to understand, a lot of us are committed. We're doing this all the time. Our lives is surrounded about putting the information out. I mean, we're not like off YouTube and not working. I'm working with client by client by client, and it's something inside us that keeps us going and going and going. We don't have a normal lifestyle, right, Priz?
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. I barely have time to meditate these days and just sit around and do nothing, but I always have to be doing something. If it's not preparing for a live, is doing something else, preparing for a conference or scheduling something or being on a conference call or doing a podcast. It's like this.
It's the knowing inside that you always have to be serving all the time. You can't stop, and it's driven within you. I mean, it's really funny when I had this incident when I asked a friend, she's like, "Do you want to go on a boat today?" And she's like, "Yeah." Got her bikini and all that stuff, and then she sees me putting nets together. What are we doing? I go, "We're gonna go look for her body." That's the whole time frame. I mean, we're always looking or searching or trying to do something that we feel we need to be of service to. But that is my situation. I'm always trying to solve a case or go somewhere to discover something or be of service to spirit. So it's hard for me to have like a complete, what people would say, a normal relationship, because that is priority across the board in my existence, period.
Yeah, I know the feeling of that inner calling to serve, and that's what I'm doing. It's a great honor and pleasure to be involved in this great awakening. Now, there's one last question that I want to get your perspective on. Of course, everybody here knows my take on the structure of the cosmos, especially for those that have taken my course. But this is a question addressed from Yogi. Are the galaxies located inside the firmament? And if so, what is outside the firmament?
Okay, I believe there's the higher heaven. So I believe they're outside the
Yeah,
firmament.
same here. Same
Yeah,
here. We live in the vast
all I see now is fog and fake clouds, and they have enough room for that, if that, and then maybe a fake the moon, and then it depends on which sun they want to pull up, but that is it. And then I call the fake space that they put that's colorblind. I don't believe in that either. It just bothers me too, that you'll see at night and it's only black and white, and Spirit has showed me that it's in great colors. That's the whole thing. So beyond that, it's beyond that, because they showed me colors of purple and pink and galaxies, and this is not it in this fishbowl that we're stuck in. So bring it down.
Yeah, that's what I reveal in our cosmic origin, the vastness of our cosmos. And I would say billions upon billions of galaxies just in the measurable known universe. And that is only 4% of what they could measure. Imagine the other percentage that they call dark matter and dark energy. That's where all life, that's where the real life is. Well, higher life. I don't want to say real life because it's all life, even within the 4%. But that's where the higher evolved intelligence exists. It's within that dark matter, dark energy realms that they can detect.
Right.
Well, I think, yeah, we're about that 2-hour mark. And
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can always do another one. Set up something else with me, me and you. So I'm sure there's more stuff coming on, but in the near future for more presentations of information. So, I mean, like I said, I'm excited about getting to a process of the humanity projects and seeing how people are involved in that. I think that's a great subject to go into and what people are excited by. So I think
absolutely, people thinking and brainstorming as to what they're going to do if money wasn't the issue. You know, if everybody had $1 billion, what would you do? What is your dream? What is your ideals? Like, what is your passion? Think about that, guys. All right, I'm going to leave you guys with that thought. Please don't forget to smash the like button, share this video far and wide, and
then
also, if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. Go ahead.
My website, you can look on. I have a Patreon channel. Look for that. I think I have it on the link on Instagram, and then on my website, which I'm sure you already have in this link. And then they can look at all the information, documentation, all the stuff that I have in there, predictions, all the stuff. So yeah, and then classes, mediumship, everything, remote viewing.
Awesome. And I will also, as a reminder, put her links in the description for those that watch it on the replay. And with that in mind, anything else, any final thoughts that you want to leave us with, Jenny?
Follow the light, don't be in fear, and listen to your own instinct, because we are going into amazing times, and it's going to be great. It's going to bring you to your knees as we get to this process. It's going to be amazing, I think. Don't you?
I completely agree, my sister.
So, yeah. No fear.
I like that. The heart of a lion, right? It's one thing we learned from Trump.
No fear.
Is that we are lions. This is not a time to wake up the sheeple anymore. This is the time to roar, everyone, all right? So may the God force be with you all, Jenny Lee. It was an honor, and we will talk soon.
Okay, take care. Stay in the light.
Bye.
Good night.